Welcome to Radiant Mom Rising. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and uplifted. I'm your host, Mary Dibble, and in each episode, we dive into amazing stories, insights, and conversations that help moms like you chase your dreams and embrace your worth. Let's rise and shine together. Mama, today we're having one of those conversations that may feel uncomfortable at first, but could be one of the most important and loving conversations you ever have for your family. Because while none of us wants to imagine something happening to us or the people we love, there is so much peace that can come from knowing you have made your wishes clear, protected your children, and created a plan that will make an already difficult time easier for your family. Today, I'm joined by fellow mom and estate planning attorney Eleanor Dolev. After spending more than a decade working in litigation, Eleanor's own personal experience led her and her husband to start asking some very real questions. What would happen if something happened to one or both of them? Who would make important decisions? What would happen to their children? And would the plans they created truly keep their family out of court and conflict? Those questions ultimately changed the direction of Eleanor's career, and she has since helped hundreds of families across Oregon and Washington create estate plans that reflect their unique lives and wishes. In this conversation, we're breaking down what estate planning actually is, why it is absolutely not only for wealthy families, what could happen to your children's assets if you do not have the proper plan, and why a quick online template may not provide the protection you believe it does. And don't worry, Eleanor makes this topic feel approachable, practical, and empowering. This is not about living in fear, it's about loving your family enough to prepare and give yourself the peace of mind that comes from knowing you have done what you can to protect them. We also move into a beautiful conversation about motherhood, building freedom, and pursuing what matters to you. This is such an important episode, so grab your coffee, open your heart and mind, and let's dive in. Hello, hello, and welcome back to the show. Thank you so much. Today I'm being joined with Eleanor. Eleanor, thank you for joining us today. We're so excited to have you, and I can't wait to get into your story. So I'm going to let you get started, just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So I'm Eleanor. I live in Oregon, and I'm first and foremost, I'm a mom and I'm a wife. That is the most important thing in my life. But I'm also an attorney that handles estate planning matters in Oregon and Washington. And yeah, that's who I am.
Oh, well, it's really wonderful to have you on here. And I'd love to hear a little bit of your backstory. I too am a mom and a wife, and I do agree with that as far as that being so important and a big part of our lives. Tell us a little bit about your journey as far as attorney and what led you to work in the specific field that you do.
Yeah, I would love to share that.
Yeah.
So I have been practicing law since 2008, and really a well over a decade of my life was dedicated towards litigation. And then something happened in my own personal life. I tell this to people, it's like I'm a human being, something
Yes.
happened, and it kind of that led me and my husband to sit down and have a real life conversation around how would we want things to look like if anything would have happened to one of us or both of us. This is really, not something you think about every day, but then something happens and, you have that conversation. And I was not in the estate planning realm at the time, but I did take it upon myself to looking into having an estate plan done. And unfortunately, what I quickly found out, it's stories that I learned back then, but also stories that I hear every day in my practice is the
Yeah.
traditional way of creating estate plans is not really meant to serve its purpose, which is we're staying out of court, we're staying out of conflict. It's not really meant to serve you in the way that it's meant to serve you. And kind of having the background of coming from a place where I did handle litigation for so long, I just didn't want to leave a bundle, a mess bundle, I guess, when I go, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna die someday, but it's just a matter of time. And so actually my family was my own first estate planning client. So that's how that was the journey for me to become an estate planning attorney. And I've served hundreds of families across Oregon and Washington really ever since.
Oh, that's amazing. And that is important. I've had other guests too who have like other unique perspectives and there's their own journeys that led them down this path to focus on that. So if a mom was listening right now and she was like, a lot of my moms are, they can be younger.
Yeah.
And I get that. Like, where would you say there's a great starting point of some questions that they should be asking themselves and thinking about when it comes to estate planning?
So where to start to find the information on what to kind of question about?
Yeah, like let's say they just don't really know much about it. Like estate planning, like you're right, we take it for granted, like our lives and even preparing. So this is something me and my husband actually talk about all the time because he's a very like in the moment kind of person and I'm a very futuristic kind of person. So we kind of like bump heads a lot with that because where he's just like, "Oh, it'll be fine, it'll be fine." I'm more like, "But I have this and this that I know is coming or that could happen and I like to be prepared." So it's
Yeah.
kind of a compliment and then also a clash at the same time. So I guess in like in that sense, it's like, well, okay, I may not really know much about estate planning. Like, why should I care about it? Like, what do I really, what am I really thinking about when it comes to that?
Yeah, yeah,
You
and
know?
and it's sometimes a lot of people don't even know what estate planning is.
Yeah,
And naively, I mean, that's not okay. That I kind of have this notion that everybody knows what estate planning is. So it's really is, you don't know what you don't know, right?
exactly.
Um, the best way is if you already kind of have that in mind and you want to think ahead of kind of having all these contingencies in place. I'm a big fan of just getting some education around that. It could look in different ways in different states. For me specifically, just kind of
Yeah.
from where I'm at, Oregon and Washington, I do hold estate planning seminars monthly. So between two to
Cool.
three times a month, that's my way to educate the community. People are showing up. Like I said, between 80 to 100 people at a time.
Hmm.
Not everybody are becoming my client, which I'm fine with this because that is my message to the community and that is my way to contribute to the community by educating them. And so
Yeah.
really be on the lookout for seminars in your area and just go and listen. You don't have
Yeah.
to, nobody's making you make an appointment or, sign a document. Just go and listen. It's just a way for you to get familiarized with what does happen if anything were to happen to you, your spouse, in various aspects, right? And so when we have typically what I say I'm speaking with families and they have younger children like myself, right? There's really three things that we want to be on the lookout for, right? Who will make financial decisions on our behalf when we can't, right? Medical decisions.
Oh,
And what happens to our kids? These are the three biggest buckets, right?
yeah.
And obviously, for me, the most important thing that when I got started was the kids, right?
Yeah.
And so at the time, they're all minor, right? Right now, I have one adult. I don't know how that happened.
Oh God,
And
I'm the same way, girl. I got one about to go off to college, and then I got two that's just starting like elementary school. So I'm like, yeah.
my same here. So I'm gonna head out to the East Coast next month to drop him off at college.
Oh, where's he going to college?
Stevens Institute of Technology. It's
Oh,
in New Jersey in Hoboken.
oh wow, that's exciting. My son's going to App
You?
State in Boone, North Carolina, so I'm excited because he's still going to be like just an hour away from me. So,
Oh, okay.
but yes, that is so excited. And how old are your other kids?
15 and 13. My daughter's
Okay.
15.
Oh,
So you have two boys and a girl as well,
I
right?
do. I do. Yes. And well, mine's a little bit younger. There's one just turned 5 and the other's about to turn 7. My daughter's about to be 7. My son just turned 5. And then, of course, the 18-year-old son. So I know, right? Isn't that crazy how that works? But that congratulations on that. And yes, that,
Mhm.
I really do feel like these are important conversations for moms because I'll be honest with you. When I very first, I think in my 20s, because I worked in banking, and I remember when I first heard about estate planning, I thought that was for rich people. I was just like, I just
Oh,
thought it was like for people who were very wealthy and had money and had to put their stuff in order of like where things went when they passed away. Like, so that's why I think what you're saying is so important because it's so easy to hear something and just, like I said, I didn't know either until like I went and started educating myself and hearing more and understanding just how important it is because I know that nobody wants to talk about death. I
Yeah.
get that. And nobody wants that. No, I mean, the idea of it is horrendous enough. But that the reality is that we don't know what's to come. Anything is
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've seen, because I worked in the banking industry, especially, I saw so many situations where someone would unexpectedly pass away. And because it was as simple as like somebody couldn't access a checking account because they weren't POD on the account, which is payable
Oh,
upon death.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And the lengths of court and fighting that they'd have to go through and getting the estate set up and all the things was so, it's like they're already dealing with enough grief. And here now
Yes.
they're dealing with all this legal crap. And so that is why I like having these conversations because I feel like again, like you said, we take it for granted, but also like you don't know what you don't know. And I want moms that's in my world, like us, to be connected. I want us to at least know and have the resources to what's available and what could help make things smoother for ourselves, our families, especially like you said, the kids, because that idea right there of like what would happen to your kid and what
Yeah.
happened
And
to you.
a few things on that, everybody has, or not everybody, a lot of people have that misconception that yes, it's just for the right estate planning, it's just so you have to have an estate.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I have the opposite opinion. My personal point of view on this is that when you have just, you have your house, you have your everyday income, you don't have all these resources when you're kind of multi-millionaire,
Yeah.
it's actually even more important to have an estate plan done because your margin of error, if anything does end up happening, like you were saying, lengthy court battles, that costs money. And who do you think funds these legal proceedings? Your own estate pays for that bill. And so if your estate pays for that, less money goes into the pockets of the kids that you're leaving behind, right? And so it's even more important when you don't have a lot,
Yeah.
and I say this for every single couple that kind of walks in here and has into my office and has minor kids. It's really not about how much you have, what type of assets you have. If something happens to both parents, you want to have some sort of structure that provides for them, that takes care of them without having to go through these, it could, take a couple of years until the money is available for them. And then what? Right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of your comment about people not having these conversations. It's true. Nobody wants to have these conversations. This is a difficult conversation of
Yeah.
thinking about, okay, what happens when I die? Or I'm laying in a hospital, I'm in a coma. These are really uncomfortable conversations. But from my perspective, we have all these insurance policies for our cars. Obviously, that's law, but
Yeah.
we do, we insure our house for earthquake and floods and
Yes.
stuff that could happen and not happen, but we're all going to die. It's gonna happen. It doesn't mean that it's gonna happen today. It can happen in 60 years from now, but it's gonna happen. So we might as well. It's like a train wreck that is, we know it's gonna happen. We have to plan for it.
Yes.
We can adjust the train wreck, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And exactly, because I mean, you talking about that, like you're right about people getting insurance. Like, we went through a house fire and just knowing that, thank God we had to have that house insurance because if not, not only would have lost everything, we really would have lost everything. Like it was like there would have been no chance for us. It was our first time having a house. We hadn't even been in the house but 7 months. But it's
Yeah.
like it just it's one of those, but we're also very blessed. It's crazy how that even went down because at the time, I just had my son. He was like about, I want to say he was about 7, maybe 8 years old. And my mom, who had been living with us, had just moved out a week before and happened to be like, well, let me just let him stay with me that weekend. And it was because it was my husband's birthday weekend. Actually, we were like, we were ready to have a good time and enjoy ourselves. And then this started at like 11:40 something at night. So I was like, gosh, thank God we were awake. What if we had went to
Oh
bed?
my
Like, you know what I mean? There's so many, and we did lose 3 cats that night, which was already horrific in itself. But you're right. It's like you always think that's not going to happen to me, but then
yeah.
it does. And like, it's so surreal. Like even it's been like, gosh, I want to say almost 8. maybe 9 years since that happened. It's been so long now, I can't even keep up with it, right? But it's like it's at the same time, it's still there. Like I can
So
see it like it was
vivid.
just yesterday, right? So it's why
Mhm.
sometimes it's hard for me. But again, it's one of those situations like it could have been so much worse, and it does give you that eye opener. Like you just never know. Like it is unfortunately possible that horrific things can happen, and
Yeah.
I feel like I never want to prepare in the sense of like expecting it, but at the same time, I'd like to have that ease of mind that if
Mhm.
something were to happen, I'm
Yeah.
covered. We got
Yes.
this. We will
Yes.
find our way through it in the easiest way possible. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
what you provide, and with the estate planning especially, which is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. You know, when you say that, it kind of reminded me I had a client, not knowing what happens, that's life all the time. I
Yeah.
had a client that was here in December, and her husband had a cardiac arrest at 55 in front of her in their house. And she that was at December 1st, and December 5th she was here in my office. And my jaw was on the floor. I was like, how are you here? It's been 4 days. And she said, you know what? So when he died, they didn't have any plan at all. And so obviously how can you be here in 4 days? And she was like, I have my two daughters. I'm doing this. We're on the fence for was about a year before he passed to kind of, should we get that done? Should we not get that done? And she said, I saw that happening right in front of my face, and all the kind of the doubts that I have, do this, do that. I already know all the answers for everything. So sure enough, we sit down, we create her plan. She had answers for everything.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I mean, kind of, I wish it would have done that sooner, right? Because we're almost in August, we're in July, right?
Hmm.
And she's still been dealing with the implications of having no plan, because some of the stuff that he had left behind are still in legal proceedings. So he hadn't gone back yet.
Yeah.
So life can sometimes come real fast. So it's
Yeah.
always like you were saying, yeah, it's good to have that plan. And then you work through the emotions of dealing something. Yes, sometimes it's not the most pleasant to deal with, but then you get to forget about it for a few years until,
Hmm.
you want to do your check-in, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, because that is something too. It's like, yeah, every so often you do want to check in because life changes, right?
Yes.
As you
Life
keep living, which
changes.
is yay, great, but it's like
Yeah.
you do have to readjust and things like that that you have to think about. I also want to touch as well because through your journey and everything you learned, you also were sharing a little bit with what you shared with me, anyways, about you and your husband also getting into like a real estate investment too. Like that's a completely different, I know it's like completely shifting gears to a point, but I think that's neat. And I'd love to hear because I feel like with our journeys. Like I was even telling my daughter this the other day. I was like, growing because she was like, "Mommy, what did you want to be when you grew up?" And I was like, well, at first I wanted to be a veterinarian, and then I wanted to be an actress. And I was like, and she's like, but she's like, are you happy doing your podcast and stuff? It's like, girl, I love it. I'm actually glad I didn't become an actress, like because I don't even like that world. Like it's kind of a crazy world that I've learned that it's like shifted how I used to dream about it. But I was like, I get to now be real and authentic and do something I love and create space. But we were talking about just how sometimes like in life it's like you think you want to do one thing but as you grow and evolve different things come up, so even with as an attorney choosing to do that and then what led you into finding this real estate business with your husband, I just love to kind of hear as well, how did that evolve along with you doing this attorney work?
Yeah, I mean, and we do more than just this, the business
Yeah.
and real estate investment. We do have other businesses as well.
Oh,
And
nice.
for us, it kind of really comes from a place where we want just to have the freedom
Yeah.
to do whatever it is that we want to do. Really, that's, whether I do what I do. I mean, I love what I do specifically. I don't see
Yeah.
myself retiring to that point that I
Mm-hmm.
love what I do. But all the kind of the other endeavors, I guess, coming from a place where we want to have our freedom, and we want to not think twice about if we, want to take that time off.
Yeah.
Not that I'm taking time off, girl. Let me tell you, I'm not taking time off. I'm like I work myself to death.
Oh
But
no. Girl, sounds like you need to
I
take
love
some
what
time
I
off.
do.
I
Yeah,
know,
I
but
don't
you
do.
might need to
But
take
I
some
don't
time
want to
off.
think twice about, if my husband does have a day job, if he kind of wants to quit at a certain time, he's able to do that, right? So we don't have to, so we're trying to kind of build that up to a point where it's up to us and we get to choose. I choose not to retire because I don't want to retire rather than it's like
Yes.
an ongoing pursuit of trying to retire, right? That's really what it's all
All about.
about.
I think it's
And
like that way for everyone. I mean,
yeah,
in a sense, it's like we're all wanting, well, we want to do something we love, number one, like you say. And that's so amazing that you found something that you really enjoy to the point where, like, I don't even like see myself wanting to retire. Like,
yeah,
that is a true gift. And at the end of the day, ultimately, too, we all want that freedom that if I decide, or let's say someone gets sick or something happens, I'm not worried that, oh, my paycheck's coming in short. Oh, how are we going to do this now? Like, I've lived enough of that survival mode my entire life. Like, no, we're so over that. And that's something I'm really helping moms with is like not only believing in the possibilities, but going after it. Because it's
yes,
one thing to have this vision and these dreams and these like desires for freedom, for more, but it's a whole nother thing to take action. And doing it on your own sucks. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't care who you are. It's hard because we talk ourselves out of it. How many people have been like, okay, I'm gonna get started working out this Monday. Come Monday, maybe you do it for like that Monday, maybe you do it for like a week, maybe even 2 weeks, maybe even start getting a little bit of a groove and being like, oh, okay, I got this. And then something happens where your kid gets sick or you get sick or just something happens and the next thing you know you skip a day and
yes,
instead of being like okay I'm going to get back up and go again you start being like oh man well I already skipped that day maybe I'll just hold off and do it next week again get back on the groove and then something else happens and life happens and next thing you know you're just back to doing the way you were before, you know?
yes,
And I
yeah,
feel like that's something I see. It was, heck, Lord knows it was a pattern of mine for so long. And this work has helped me to realize so much about the power of community and support and having that
yes.
consistency because I will talk myself out of anything any
It
day,
is,
you know?
it is so important. It's so important,
Yeah.
I'm kind of revealing something that is kind of that we're doing quietly on the back end, but what I
Mhm.
am working on, I don't know if it's going to happen Q3. I want it to happen Q4. Speaking of community, working on creating something specifically for my clients or the Dolev Law clients to have a community where we are talking about those things about financing and how to make proper investments and how to, put away money in your retirement account. So there is, because I do feel that there's a lack of education around those things. And
Yes.
so I want to build something that would be beneficial for people. So the goal is that we don't gatekeep, right? So if we know how to do this, you should know how to do this too, right? Kind
Yeah.
of working on a program. Again, it's going to be more of a closed community for my clients
Yeah.
for them to have that education
Yeah.
accessible because you know
Yes.
you don't know, like we were saying, we don't know what you don't know, and it's easier to do with a community like you said, right? And so it's
Yeah.
kind of it's in your it's in front of you, you have the information that you need.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's what I want to do. I want moms to have this kind of information, which is why I bring people like you on to share like some, teachings around it and also your own personal journey because again, it's so nice to hear relatable stories too of like what you went through that leads you to even join this or start this or learn more about this whether it be about health business or like here with you estate planning because again this is super important. Sorry.
No,
It's just it's super important for us to be able to not only share, and that's one thing I love being able to share the information. I love people having that resource because I know, for instance, when I became a mom for the first time I was 20, just turning 21 a month later, and I felt very alone. Back then,
Mhm.
I didn't have the resources that are available now for like postpartum depression, for, just being a first time mom. I mean, I didn't even want to be a mom for the longest time. So becoming a mom was like unexpected. And I also battled addiction. So like I was just, I didn't even really know who I was. And so it
Mhm.
was easy for me to get like lost in the sauce of like just becoming a mom. And that was my new identity. And
Yeah.
that was it. And I became the person that like just went above and beyond doing for others over myself. And it was no wonder later in life I was burnt out.
Yeah,
And finding a coach changed everything for me because it made me realize like I matter too. Like I'm allowed to dream. I'm allowed to be a mom and be a woman and be the version of myself that I want to be. And through all that, it's like it's allowed me to find things like this and people like you. So I think it's neat to hear, like I said, how everyone finds their way because ultimately we're all looking to just live our best lives, right?
yeah, that's all we want to do.
Yeah.
Exactly. We do want to live just a quiet life, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, what it looks like, what something looks like for one person may not look like that for another person, and that's okay too. I think that's when I love helping moms to explore. It's like stop comparing yourself to everyone else. Like let's figure out what you want for yourself and then let's focus on that. Like forget about trying to be like her or wishing that you had this. It's like let's not focus on that. Let's focus on what's good and right for you and your family. I think that
Yeah,
matters. And that's
yeah.
kind of like with the estate planning, right? It's like you have that way of helping them with their specific situations to do what's needed for them and their family.
Exactly. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. Yes, and then that's a big thing what you're saying right now. Because I in the seminars I often get people and there's all these online solutions and which is I mean it's what it is. If you want to use it, go ahead and do it. But I don't recommend that you do it, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like you were saying, every family every has its own circumstances, its own nuances. And so we're kind of you're going through the route of creating something online. You are creating that from a template that won't apply to you. We are not templates. Every single one of us has different circumstances and situation. It
Yes.
needs to be accommodated to what you have going on in your life, not vice versa, right? So
Exactly.
that's kind of one of the biggest things that I want people to take away. Don't go through the route. And I do say that in all my seminars, when they hear me speak. So you don't have to retain me. Don't hire me. Go find an attorney that you feel comfortable with, but go hire an attorney.
Yeah.
Don't don't go through the do-it-yourself route.
Yes, yes, because I see you were talking about how like it can be a big mistake that you see a lot of people make. And tell us a little bit about that though. Like what some of the things I that you would say is a mistake that comes from people doing it themselves compared to working with an attorney.
Have a couple actually kind of do it. So I have two stories. So I have one
Mhm.
that was very, very recent. A client, he did I call it a trust plan online. I'm not going to use the name that he
Mhm.
used, but he paid, I think, around maybe $500. And it- even the wording as to how he wanted the disposal of his remains was completely the opposite of what he wanted because it worked out of a template essentially. And
Oh,
and
okay.
so the wording kind of conflicted because he wanted one thing, but then he went in and customized or put it in his own wording, and then they conflicted. That's just one example. And I also had that is from a client of mine, but not her situation with her parents. So she came in to do her own plan,
Hmm.
and she came with her parents' paperwork, and she told me, Ellen, could you just take a look at that? My parents are older, they're in their 90s. The mom just she dealt with brain surgery. She was like, can you just take a look at that? Just make sure everything is in order, just in case we need to miss it. And it was one of the kind of the online solutions. Again, I'm not going to use a name. And then obviously I read it. It wasn't the best drafted one, but one of the biggest things that we are now having to deal with is that the mom has lost cognitive abilities, at least temporarily, because of the brain surgery and the power of attorney because it was not drafted properly, it expired. That's online solution for you.
Oh,
And so now we're kind of going through a way, I was like, we're trying to kind of create something that, how do we kind of deal with it without using a power of attorney, because we know if we're going to need to use the power of attorney, according to the language, it already expired. So this is just, this couple of brief examples, but that's an online solution for it, or do it yourself, right? I
yeah.
do not recommend it unless
Yeah.
let's say you have one child, an adult child, you don't own a house. really just what you have is like a bank account or, maybe in a
Yeah.
retirement account. That is really the limited scenario where I could see that could fit.
Oh, I see. Yeah, like kind of the like really basic, simple. Yeah,
Yeah,
doesn't really need to break it down, especially with children. Like I
doesn't
said,
need
I
that.
would be very careful with that. And so I mean, because I am curious if somebody doesn't,
Mhm.
it all goes to the state then, right? If you don't get that, in, let's say, okay,
If you don't
like we're
have it,
with your
if you don't
kids.
have, yes. Okay, so
Yeah,
let's talk about what
yeah,
happens, right? So if a person, let's say, dies with no plan at all, what will happen to their things? Kids is, obviously kids is different, but we'll talk about that.
yeah.
Really, every single state has its own state laws,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what we call the state's plan. So if
Mm-hmm.
you actually don't have a plan, you do have a plan, but it's called the state's plan. And so what ends up happening, yes, we have to go through legal proceedings that are called probate, okay? And that is essentially that litigation that I was mentioning before, and that is being funded from your own estate. So you're essentially, you sue you after you die, right? And everything is being funded from all our hard-earned money that you work for your entire life. And then going through these legal proceedings, everything is frozen throughout that duration of the time where everything is being tied up in court proceedings. And so obviously if you have, people that rely on you financially, if you have, minor kids at home that need access to funds, you have an issue, right?
Yes.
And so at the end of those legal proceedings, which can take, so I'm going to tell you the national average just based on a report that's called The Cost of Dying by Empathy. The national average is about 20 months. It's almost 2 years, but that varies from state to state. But it's anywhere between, it could be 6 months to, yes, up to about 2 years. And
Mm-hmm.
that is if everything is just plain vanilla. There's kind of nobody's fighting over who's getting what, or there is kind of no complex assets or multiple assets. That could actually take a little bit longer. And I actually have a story on that as well. And so kind of going through these legal proceedings, just at the end of it, whatever is left is being given to the beneficiary. Now, if we have a beneficiary or beneficiaries that are minor, in addition, there's going to be needing to have additional proceedings, conservatorships, in
Yeah.
order to appoint somebody that would hold that money for them, and then they just get it all at 18,
Oh,
right?
I see.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it's just,
Gosh, it's a lot.
sorry, a sneeze is coming. Sorry.
Oh, bless you. No,
So it's just a stack
Mhm.
of legal proceedings that are really unnecessary and can completely be avoided by just having something in place. And I actually have a story for you that's from a friend, and that is in California. Her grandmother died with no plan, right? We just talked about that. What happens? We have the state's plan. State's plan says you have to go through these legal proceedings that are called probate. And of course, that was the situation then. And the value of the grandmother's estate was $10 million. It was mainly from farmland and real estate. So almost everything was around that. And obviously, like I was saying, she didn't have a plan. So everything needed to go through probate before it would end up with the beneficiaries. And my friend's entire family got into a huge fight. Everybody wanted this farm, that somebody wanted that farm, somebody wanted that piece of real estate. And it ended up, those legal proceedings lasted for about almost 3.5 years.
Whoa.
And I share that stories in my seminars. Out of those $10 million, $1 million was left after all that fighting. What, 90% was wiped out. Wiped out. And if that's a cautionary tale. And if you're
Yeah.
wondering where that money went, it went towards attorney fees.
Oh my God,
So
of course.
I want you
Oh
to think about
God, that's
how
so sad.
life-changing that could be if you would have gotten $10 million rather than, $9 million, $10 million split a few ways, okay, but
But
still.
still, yeah. I mean, that's the greedy. That's that greed right there. It's funny because sometimes we've talked about that with my husband's family. Like, thankfully, his parents like are kind of like that fear where they make it to where it's like they want it to. Instead of this one getting that property, that one getting that property, he feels like they would probably just to be make it equal, just sell it all and everybody divvies it out, whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like, although there's some, some of us who feel like there's always those people who might feel like, well, I really want this or whatever, but that's the beauty of like getting an estate plan because it's like it doesn't matter what you want if they have it down in the plan, you got to go by the plan and honor that. So yeah,
Exactly.
I understand. I mean, that's the sad part too, right there. It's like when you have those families with all that money and they go into fighting. I mean, what good is that?
Yeah.
Golly, that's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah. And you said that at the very beginning, and I want to echo that. Yes, we talk about the numbers and how much money you're going to lose or how much money is going to be left. But at the end of the day, it's the feeling, right?
Yeah.
Of the experience that what you're kind of going through these processes, unnecessary processes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the
Yeah.
feeling that you are left with after you actually lost somebody. That's awful. Losing somebody is already awful enough. It's
Exactly.
awful.
And
But so now you're okay, it's up to you as for your family. They already lost you, you're already gone. It's up to you to kind of what experience or what feeling you're kind of leaving them behind with. If you're planning for them, I'm not saying, it's still losing somebody is going to be difficult, but they don't have to be dealing with
a lot
all
of
the
crap. Yeah.
crap,
I mean, yeah, exactly.
right?
And that's true. I mean, that's as a mom, like I know I wouldn't want my kids to be suffering like that or having to struggle or fight tooth and nail just to have a little
Yeah,
something to keep them going. I mean, I would also want it in place of like for me, my mom right now, off the top of my head, that is always going to be the person right now. As they
yeah,
turn 18, of course,
yeah.
that changes. But for now, like she's my go-to because she knows my kids more than anybody. She's a part of their
Uh-huh.
lives. They love her. So, speaking of, yes, so talk about that now. Like with if you have no plan and you're a parent
And
and you
kids.
you know you pass away, like what does that look like for the kids?
What does that look like for the kids? So again, so every state has its own plan,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for me, that was one of the biggest things that was kind of a concern to me, right?
Yeah.
And so traditional ways of creating estate plans, you just list the guardian and the will, and that's it, which I still do for my
Mm-hmm.
clients. But for me, there's a lot more that kind of goes into that when you have minor kids at home. It doesn't matter if you have a spouse, you don't have a spouse. So first of all, what does happen? I don't know if your mom is close by now that she moved
Yes.
out. What if all your family members are a flight away or in a different state? This needs to be addressed as well. What does happen if something happens, all of a sudden to both parents at the same time, right? Or a single parent, there's minor kids at home. The
Mm-hmm.
plan for that is CPS, Child Protective Services. They get
Mm-hmm.
involved. And now your child or children may end up in the system or at
Mm-hmm.
least until everything is kind of cleared up.
Yeah.
And obviously this is something you want to avoid. And it can be, right? I mean, part of what I do is I do standalone legal document for temporary guardians. That is just I'll call the first responders, right? Don't have to be family members. All they have to be are people that you trust. You're in median environment and they're going to show up if anything happens to, you and your spouse if you get into a car accident. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, you want all the other, you still want to have legal documentation to say where your kids are going to end up with, right? Because
Yeah.
you want to avoid any type of custody battles, right? Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the decision of who would actually get to raise your children if you're not there, that's going to be up to a judge, okay? And the
Yeah.
judge, if they don't have any type of legal
Mm-hmm.
document that expresses the parents' wishes, they're going to be looking at it. They're going to be looking into the best interest of the child, but from the perspective of all the other information that they have, right? And so if you don't have kind of all that, or the parents' wishes, they're
Yeah.
just going to be looking at, okay, who looks good on paper?
Yeah.
And my struggle with this is, and I see this with families, right? So sometimes you have people in your family, right, from your family members that are top at the top of that list. Yes, I do want this person to raise my child, like your mom. God forbid something happens to mom, there's a backup. That's a person. Maybe there's people that are may on that list, maybe as backups, as contingencies. But what if you have, and that is I come across quite often. What if you have somebody that should be outside of that list? you want to exclude them no matter what, you should have, you want to be able to
Yeah.
express that in legal documents. So when the judge is actually looking at all these factors, he's seeing he's seeing this information and takes that into account, right? And so kind
Hmm.
of the drive state's plan is that, in short term, we have the CPS, long term, judge makes that call based on whatever information that they have available.
Yeah.
But we can actually have legal documents that shed a lot of light into this, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is one of, I think, the biggest things is when you have kids at home, one of the biggest things.
I agree. I mean, you see those like movies or shows where like kids have to end up with horrible aunts or whatever family members who don't love them or care for them. They just have they're just other next in kin or just something wasn't planned and they get stuck in horrible situations. And Lord knows nobody would ever want that for their kid. So yeah, I just anyone listening, I know this isn't the easiest of conversations sometimes, and I get it, I get it. But, again, I love to bring a variety of things that I know is my goal for any mom. I want us to always set ourselves up for success and as easy as possible for our families and everyone. So, I really do appreciate everything you shared with us about this because again, I had other conversations with other people like this and I like everyone has, like I said, a unique way of how they help their clients. And like, again, it's depending on the state too of who you're allowed to serve. So it's a very important, of course, to always acknowledge what state you're in and look up the laws. I reach out to someone that you feel comfortable with too, because I think that is another important thing. Some people are there for just getting paid and you want to find someone who's going to really listen to you and take the time with you to make sure that everything is aligned exactly what's meant for you. So I just want to encourage that for anyone listening. Of course, always seek out local information, resources. I think it's beautiful that you're working towards a community, and I wish you all the best with that because I do highly believe that that's super beneficial. And for anyone who joins that, it will be a great way for them to stay on top of because things change. The law changes, things are always changing. Life changes, circumstances change. So it's always important to stay within a place like that. It's another reason why I'm building what I'm building with my community for moms because things are always changing. Everyone's situation looks differently, and I just want to create a space where we get to be real and be ourselves and kind of grow together. Let's evolve together. Let's thrive together and help each other. And everything I learn as I grow and I evolve, you best believe I'm bringing it to you kind of thing.
Don't get
And
to, you don't get to.
exactly, exactly. And as a coach, I want to help people. I had an amazing session just yesterday with a client and it was amazing to get the feedback from her, but it made me feel so good for her that it's like she had this situation going on with these opportunities and just being able to sometimes it's like all about asking. Like she said, she's like, Mary, you're really good at asking the right questions to get me thinking for myself, and that's what a coach does. Like we're here to like not give you the answers but ask you the right questions so that you can find the answers for yourself, and that alone is so powerful, especially having someone as a sounding board. How many times have we talked to ourselves or just to somebody, and it's like all of a sudden we just come up with the answers within like what they're questioning us or what they're making us think about that we maybe we thought about it, but we're not sure. So it's important to surround yourself with people who can help provide the resources, the knowledge, the just the space, right?
Yeah.
To just show up and figure it out, find your way.
Yes, I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is beautiful. And so you mentioned
Knowledge
that
is power.
it is definitely power to my daughter that I was like, don't be afraid to learn. Learning is everything. Like it really is. I know it's not fun always, some of the things, they put you through with school, but I said it's gonna strengthen you one way or another.
It is. I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I also love to open up the floor of if anyone is listening and they might be in your area, like what's the best way for them to contact you to learn more about how you maybe can help them get started with their estate planning?
Best way is my website, www.dolevlaw.com. We have on our website, we have an events tab. You can see all of our upcoming events for the quarter, and we obviously update that periodically. And then, yeah, I mean, if you want to reach out to my office directly, there's a number, there's an email there. Website is really the go-to.
Oh, yes, yes. I mean, and the seminars, you say you do that once a month too.
Yes.
That's a great starting point to learn a little bit more if you're in that area. So definitely check that out. And also, I mean, I see you're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
I
I'm sure
am.
you share a lot of tips and things about this stuff. So go be sure to follow her and just stay connected. But if anything, like I said, have the difficult conversation. Do
Yeah.
it because it's important to just make sure that you are prepared and that your family's set for success in case anything happens. And while we all, of course, continue to shooting for chasing our dreams and believing in everything and wanting life, at the end of the day. But I
Yeah.
also open the floor too. Is there any final piece of advice that you would like to leave with listeners today?
Final piece of advice related to life in general.
Anything you want to share. Yes.
The only thing that kind of comes up to mind is the advice I give my kids all the time. You either win or you learn. There's no losing.
Ah, I love
Okay.
that. You win or you learn. I love that.
Failure is part of success. So win or learn. That's it.
I love that. I've been big time teaching my kids that, and I've not even thought of it like that. And I love that. I'm gonna have to use that because I do. I tell them that fail. Like even my son, my oldest. I have to share this real quick because of you saying that.
Yeah, yeah.
We were like, we had a little mom and son date because it's been a while since me and him did something just the two of us, and it was really nice because especially with him about to go to college, I loved it because even in the car ride, it's like there was no music, no nothing. We talked the entire time. It was so fun. And one of the things, he dreams about maybe one day developing his own game because he self-taught himself about coding and things like that. He has an interest in that. And he was talking about, well, I'm really worried because I feel like it doesn't matter like what people present or what I do. I'm gonna wait for it to be perfect. And I said, honey, number one, perfection does not exist. Number two, I said the best way you'll ever create the most successful game is by test trial and error, like putting it out. So there's a reason they do beta testing with video games is because they want to make sure that it's working properly, get that feedback, gain the data. I said there's nothing. I said it's not failure. Failure is like, if anything, is the greatest lesson that we get in our life is failure, and it's not a bad thing. And exactly. So is you saying that win or learn, I love that. So I'm going to so use that with my kids, especially my young ones, because I believe in that too. I've learned that for myself. I was like, I have learned the most through what my mistakes and through
The
what people would
hardships.
consider, yeah, the hardships. Exactly. It has strengthened me. I built such resilience over it. Aria, honey, calm down. Sorry, my little dog's ready to go out. So I apologize. But I've learned the most through all of that kind of stuff. So I love the shift that I see. I'm seeing it more and more. People are starting to not be so afraid of the failure, but yet that's why I'm so passionate about what we do
Yeah.
because I do see many moms not even trying because they're so afraid to fail because they feel like they have to be ready. They feel like everything's got to be perfect. And I'm like, no, no,
No,
no. You know,
there is no such thing, and that's okay. That is
exactly.
okay.
Exactly. Actually, to me, that's a relief.
Yeah. It's like
Well,
a huge burden lifted off the shoulders. There's no
huge.
such thing. Just do it.
Exactly, exactly. Well, Eleanor, I want to thank you so much for everything again, for sharing, for having your time here with me. This has been a lot of fun, and I'm very educational. Like I said, again, this is such an important. I know it's not the easiest topic, but it's so important. And you know what? You've been great about sharing everything and making it feel very easy for a lot of people. I think who might be struggling with that idea of talking about it. So thank you again so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Mama, if there's one thing I hope you take away from today's conversation, it is this. Preparing for the unexpected is not the same as expecting the worst. It is an act of love. It is choosing to make the difficult decisions now so your children and the people you love are not left trying to make them while they are grieving. It is remembering that estate planning is not only about how much money or property you have, it is about who can make financial and medical decisions for you, who would care for your children, how your family could access the resources they need, and whether your wishes would truly be honored. And please do not miss Eleanor's final reminder. You either win or you learn. There is no losing. You do not need to wait until everything is perfect to start taking responsibility for your future. Whether you are creating an estate plan, pursuing a dream, changing a habit, or becoming a more confident version of yourself, you learn by taking the next step, not by waiting until you are guaranteed to get everything right. Eleanor, thank you so much for bringing your knowledge, your heart, and your experience to this conversation. You took a subject that can feel very heavy and gave us a way to approach it from a place of love, clarity, and empowerment. I know this episode is going to encourage so many parents to begin conversations they may have been putting off. If you are in Oregon or Washington and would like to learn more about working with Eleanor or attending one of her estate planning seminars, visit dolevlaw.com. Her information will also be waiting for you in the show notes. And Mama, while we are talking about making decisions that protect your future, I want to ask you something. Can you trust yourself to follow through on the life you say you want? Not only when you feel motivated, not only when life is going smoothly, but when fear appears, motherhood gets demanding, or those familiar patterns tempt you to put yourself last again. If you know you were meant for more, but keep second guessing yourself, abandoning your needs, or breaking the promises you make to yourself, I would love to invite you to my free live event, Become the Woman You Can Trust, happening Tuesday, August 25th. During this event, I'm going to help you understand what may be interfering with your self-trust and show you how to begin becoming the grounded, confident, consistent woman you already know is within you. It is also a beautiful opportunity to experience what I teach and get a feel for what it's like to work with me. You can reserve your free spot now by visiting the link in today's show notes. And if you are already feeling that deeper yes, that you are ready to stop surviving, reconnect with who you are, and create lasting change from the inside out, Identity Reset is officially open for enrollment. Identity Reset is for the mom who is tired of knowing what she wants but struggling to follow through. The woman who is ready to understand the beliefs, patterns, and survival responses keeping her stuck, rebuild trust in herself, and begin creating her life from the identity of the woman she is becoming. This is not about fixing you because you are not broken. It is about helping you come home to yourself, take your power back, and build the internal safety, clarity, and self-trust to move forward differently. You can learn more through the link in the show notes, and if you're curious but not quite ready, come join me for the Become the Woman You Can Trust first. Let yourself experience the work and see what becomes possible when you stop trying to figure everything out alone. And before you go, share this episode with another mom who needs to hear it. Make sure you follow the show so you never miss an episode, and if Radiant Mom Rising has supported you, please take a moment to leave a rating or review. Every share, follow, and review helps these conversations reach another woman who may need them more than we realize. Until next time, Mama, remember, you do not have to predict every turn life will take, but you can choose to prepare, take the next brave step, and trust yourself to learn along the way. Keep rising, keep becoming, and keep creating a life that feels true to you. Much love.